Hey, what's up, y'all? This is gonna be a good discussion to have. Let's go.
One thing is, in this generation, one thing that's happened in people's minds is the heaven has collapsed in people's minds.
The heaven?
Yes.
How so?
See, I've been talking to people. 50 years ago, if I spoke to people and I asked how many of you want to go to heaven, almost 80% would raise their hands. Today, you go to your university and ask them, how many of you want to go to heaven? They'll say, they think it's a ridiculous question, all right? Nobody will raise their hand. So in their minds, heaven has collapsed, there's no place to go.
And before I let it keep going, I can say that I agree with him because even according to Barna research, about 70% or so of kids that confess to be a Christian lose their faith when they get to college. Anyway, let's keep going.
Let me take you back to this concept of heaven. You know, when you're talking about people in universities, that you say how many of them want to go to heaven. The problem is they don't have any evidence of heaven. And so when a lot of these young people that are atheists or agnostics, they don't want to buy into anything that they believe is connected to fairy tales, or they're connected to some sort of an ideology that they believe was manufactured to control people.
Okay, and I agree 100%. You should not buy into fairy tales. I am curious to see where he goes with this.
People
That's
in
what
check.
I said, the heaven has
Yes.
collapsed in their minds.
In their minds. But
Yep.
it's also because heaven is connected to religion, and religion is connected to atrocities. There's a lot of people that think of religion, they think of the evils of the Catholic Church, or they think of, you know, what religion has justified, the horrors of history, the things that people have done in the name of religion. So a lot of younger, sophisticated, intelligent people don't want to believe in anything that there's no evidence for. So when you say, how many of them want to go to heaven, say, show me a video. Tell me where I'm going. Do you have a map
No,
of heaven?
Okay, so I think I got enough context here. Let's stop it right there. Now, here's the question. Is there or isn't there an afterlife? And how can we know for sure? Let's talk about it. But before I get into it, the Bible says, look to the heavens, right? And I just want to put things into a better perspective as to why trying to figure out or understand a concept such as heaven is so far beyond our finite level of comprehension. Just think about how incredibly vast and fine-tuned our universe and solar system is, and about how small the Earth is when compared to the other planets within our solar system. And compare those planets to how small they are compared to our star, the sun. I think some astronomers say you can fit like 1.3 million Earths into our sun. And our sun isn't even the biggest star in our galaxy. In fact, the sun is considered to be an average sized star. We got giant stars like Arcturus that make the sun look tiny. And then we got supergiant stars like Betelgeuse and Antares that make Arcturus look tiny. To put that into a better perspective and make it plain, some astronomers say that you can fit at least 1.6 billion with a B suns inside of Betelgeuse. It's about 950 to 1,400 times as large as the sun. And Antares is bigger than Betelgeuse. And this is just in our galaxy. The average distance between the stars in our galaxy is about 30 trillion miles apart from one another. Someone did the calculations of how long it would take for us to travel from our star, the sun, to another star in our galaxy if we were traveling at 5 miles per second, and it would take over 201,000 years. So when the Bible says, look to the heavens, we're not talking about something that you can Google on the internet here. So keep that in mind while you're trying to figure out heaven in your brain. Now, a few deeper things that you got to contend with if you say that there is no afterlife is that no afterlife means that there is no soul within us. We're just accidental complex matter and energy that goes to the fertilizer pit to become worm food when we die. But I would argue that we're so much more than just complex chemicals bouncing around in our brain. For example, when you sit down after a long day and self-reflect on the day that you just had, your ability to judge yourself on the things that you should do differently or keep the same in the next day that follows, I argue that it's not just chemicals making those decisions, but rather it's your soul that's seated within your conscience that's being driven by your God-given free will. Listen, The only thing that's 100% certain about life is that it will come to an end. And the reason I believe heaven is real is because Jesus Christ said it is. And the reason I believe in Jesus Christ is because I believe that he's wiser than I am. Look, I'll be the first to say and admit that religion and Christianity have been perverted by people who claim to do evil things in the name of Christ. But those are straight con artists, because that's not what Christ represents nor what he taught. So when people claim there's no evidence for heaven because no one has been there before, I say someone has been there before and he came back to tell us about it. And his name is Yeshua HaMashiach, Iesos Christos, or Jesus Christ. And I base my belief of heaven on the credibility and reliability of Christ, who said, I will go prepare a place with my Father for you. So you got to read the Bible for yourself. And people tell me all the time, oh, I don't want to read that old book. It's been tampered with. It's been misinterpreted. And I agree, it's been greatly misinterpreted, which is why you'd be wise to read it for yourself to get a greater understanding and interpret it correctly. You got to read it within context and respect the literary style, in that the Bible is a historical document versus a mythology story. And when you read Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, you'll see that we're talking about historical eyewitness reportage here. We saw Jesus. We saw him die on the cross. We saw him get buried in the tomb of Joseph of Arimathea. We saw him resurrected from the dead. And even though people claim to have seen him resurrected from the dead, there were still skeptical people like me and like Thomas, who said, no, wait a minute. I don't believe nothing of what you're talking about until I see him for myself. And he better have those holes in his hands still. And Jesus appeared to Thomas like, hey, brother, here I am. So if you come to the same conclusion as me, and simply find Christ is reliable and trustworthy, well, it would also be wise to take the claims of heaven very seriously. Anyway, these are just my thoughts. I hope it helps somebody. Peace.